We welcome you all to Studio 12 in the south end zone of Kyle Field. It is time for another Yell-in Review with our Director of Athletics, Ross Bjork. This is the April edition. I'm Will Johnson with Ross, with Tyler Pigg today. And look at this, fellas, two full pages of questions today.
The 12th man.
I mean,
they're fired up.
Ross sent a late
yeah,
tweet,
yeah.
and we got a lot of late submittals.
When the
here.
boss sends an email or a tweet out, it tends to trend our submissions in a different direction.
My Twitter game was off a little bit. I was in too many meetings Monday and Tuesday, so I had to tweet something out. I sent a lot of tweets today. Our friend Chuck Carlton from the Dallas Morning News passed away. There was a tweet about that. Obviously, women's golf. There was a tweet about that. And then, obviously, I saw your tweet, and I'm like, oh, I haven't said anything about the Yell-in Review. So
if you want to fire the 12th man up, maybe this is the way to
that's
do
the way
it
to
at
do
the
it.
11th
we'll
hour.
go last minute.
Take them all in.
And that is not Andrew Monaco.
No, Andrew's on his way to Arkansas.
Andrew's with
Tyler admirably
baseball.
stepping in here
You
today.
let me in once, you'd bring me back twice.
We're not going to get rid of him.
Yeah, I may not get rid of me.
He's going to stay right there.
You know, it's I don't have all the broadcast schedules, like who's calling what games or whatever, but you know, if I'm traveling, if I'm at a kids event, you know, one of my son's games or whatever, and I'll pull up the 12th man app or whatever, and then it's like, whose voice is that? Oh, that's Andrew's voice. Oh, that's Matt Simon doing softball. Oh, hey, that's Tyler doing baseball. Oh, that's Will. So we got a lot of voices around here that support our team. So
yes, the thing about Diamond Sports, sometimes you just get two working booths here at home. You can have a TV booth and a radio, but it's like professional baseball is the way it works. But before we get to this robust line of questioning from the 12th man, we have to hit a topic that I know that our fans are very interested in, because you got to go out to Augusta National earlier this month, and this was after our last Yell-in Review, so we wanted to get to this with you. You got to see Sam Bennett at the Masters, and it was a historic and just memorable amateur performance, and he was the low-am, winning the Silver Cup at Augusta National. But you got to be there as he walked off 18 on his final round. What a great day for Sam. Aggies all around to watch him at this year's Masters.
Yeah, we're I love it when, like, a certain team does something, wins a championship or whatever, because, you know, we're a tennis school, you know, for one day, and then we're a golf school. Today we're a golf school, right?
Yep.
Because women's golf is the #1 seed in the San Antonio Regional. That came out today, so they'll be heading down there here in a few weeks. And then obviously with what Sam has done, and just being there, you know, what was really cool, and Sam talked about this. He talked about the patrons being so respectful. It really, and I followed him on every hole. I mean, we chased him down. I mean, I think I walked 11.5 miles on that Sunday, because we followed him from hole number 7 to finish up the third round on 7 green, and then all the way through the final round. And it really started in the final round on 11 green and 12 tee box, because that's Amen corner, and they're side by side. He got a standing ovation walking off 11 green, 12 tee box. Standing ovation between 13 green, 14 tee box. Standing ovation coming into 15 green, 16 tee box. And then, of course, walking up, and he got the same thing on 17 green, but walking up to 18. So really just the appreciation that people had forget playing golf. Like, I think it was more about who he is as a human being and as a person, and his story and his perseverance. And oh, yeah, by the way, he is good at golf, really good at golf.
Really good.
Right? It was really the story, I think, that people really gravitated towards. So we decided to do an analysis, and Tyler knows way more about these things than me, but we wanted to know what was the total number of impressions and the impact that story had, social media, TV. So here's some really cool numbers. 598 web article mentions. So really that's kind of over a 2-week period. 23,642 TV mentions. That equated to a Nielsen rating, which rates television broadcast viewership, to 632 million impressions. 40,000 views of his bio on 12man.com.
During the Masters.
How many do we get for
a
high-profile player?
That's a great question, Ross.
10,000?
Because like a football game is a great example. Matt Simon, who's our producer, we have a little kind of analytics chart that comes up that we track during football games just to see the site spikes or what's going on. And guy catches a touchdown. Moose Muhammad's a good example. His one-handed catch against LSU, he had about 8,000 people within a 24-hour period. That's 40,000 people over a 4-day stretch, which is pretty impressive.
A 450% increase for Sam Bennett on his Instagram. And then if you look at our golf accounts, our men's golf social media accounts grew by 380% across all the channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, 2.5 million impressions across those 3 platforms. So, I mean, just so many things. I mean, lots of other numbers and things like that we're still kind of gathering and really, and we'll package this all up and do probably a comprehensive report that we'll release. But just we wanted to showcase that in terms of the impact of sports, but the impact of stories, when it becomes personal, that's where people gravitate towards. So it's really just the power of athletics, the power of a story like Sam Bennett. Obviously, a platform like the Masters is something that you can't match as well. So just a really cool moment for the entire university and really all of Aggies. I mean, I don't know how many people I heard from saying, I followed every shot, I'm so proud. Then they heard from friends or neighbors who knew they were Aggies, and they're like, hey, this Sam Bennett guy. So just a really cool moment, not only for him, but the entire university.
You know what might be a fun study, TP, is you take the 40,000 views of Sam's bio on 12thman.com, compare it with what's about to happen. You have 3 Aggies about to get picked in the NFL draft. I'm sure people in those cities – where they go may want to check out their bio from Texas. And because the NFL draft and the Masters, they're mega sporting events. Right. They're huge in this country.
Yeah, the last time we did a study like this was around the Alabama game from 2021. And just that, again, impression, I mean, hundreds of millions worth of impressions. Same kind of thing here that we're talking about. So
well, it's a perfect storm for Sam, too, as he begins what will be his professional career this summer. He is able to use his name, image, and likeness now to facilitate some deals.
Example.
He had some NIL deals that he was wearing at the Masters, but he's also going to be able to take that now, has been able to be in the marketing field, the branding field for what he'll do when he turns pro this summer.
I would say the value of his professional deals compared to what they were before the Masters, I think they went up
skyrocket.
I think they went up a little bit. So really proud of Sam, and really just the young man that he is, really more than even the golf. So great testament to the program and to Sam.
And later on, before we close out, there will be a quick question posed to Ross comparing his golf game to Sam.
Well, that'll be a very quick answer.
But you're going to get some strokes here. So don't worry about that.
I saw that,
As we said, 2 full pages to get to today. A lot coming to you from the 12th Man. As always, if you have a question for Ross for a future Yellen review, you can submit it at 12thman.com/askross. So, and a bunch came through there throughout the week and today. So let's begin. James McClure is class of 86 from right here in Bryan. He said, with Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC in the future, do you think conference championships and tournaments will be moved from their current locations and migrate towards Texas? Football, men's and women's basketball, and baseball seem entrenched, and having them occasionally play in Texas would be great.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great question, James. And actually, these conversations about more impressions in Texas started before SEC expanded in 2021. When I got here in 2019, I noticed that void, that there's not a lot of Western footprint sort of exposure, if you will, in platforms from an SEC hosting standpoint, whatever it might be. And so we actually started those conversations with the conference office before OU in Texas. Now, obviously, it makes more sense because we got more members out this way. So football's in a long-term deal in Atlanta. Men's basketball's in a long-term relationship in Nashville, and those are both great cities for those events. Women's basketball's in a kind of a shorter-term agreement, but Greenville, South Carolina has been really good. We just approved a new format in volleyball. Well, we will have a postseason volleyball tournament. So those are the kind of opportunities I think that we have to look at to try to get something in the state of Texas. Then you have other things like media days, right? Football media days is a big deal. We're seeing more rotation of that. This year it's in Nashville, right? We've gone to Atlanta. Hoover has kind of been the hub of that there at the Winfrey Hotel. So I think we have to be creative about not just tournaments, but what other big events are we hosting within the SEC, and how do we get those in the state of Texas? So, James, you're on it. You and I are thinking alike, and in the SEC, the office believes in that as well. And it's really not just about the expansion; it's really about the state of Texas and the profile that it provides. So, and that platform is gigantic, and we have really great cities that can host these kind of things too. So, more to come, and I think you're on the right track, James, in how you're thinking about it.
All right. Elliot Weiss, class of 27, he's from Pflugerville, Texas. And I like the phrasing he has in this first sentence here. He said, a while ago, Parker McCollum tweeted that it would be dope, in quotations, to perform in Kyle Field towards the end of summer, and even tweeted last May that playing a show at Kyle Field was on his list of goals. Have you had any discussions about the possibility of a concert in Kyle Field? Thanks, and giggle.
Yes, Elliot, we have. And so we actually have a whole unit within our athletic program that schedules, books, forecasts, solicits outside events. So we're hosting rodeo this weekend. Yeah, this weekend. We have rodeo. We had a comedy show a couple weeks ago. So we are trying to build that whole unit out even more so to really talk about music and how do we get music in our venues. And Kyle Field will be awesome. That takes a special type of artist that has the ability to fill a stadium like that. So we have had conversations around Kyle Field, around Reed Arena, about music. The good and the bad about our location is we're in a great spot with a nice population, and we have 70,000 plus students. The bad part is we're kind of in a triangle between Houston, Austin, and San Antonio, and Dallas. And so are they going to go do a show in Houston and then come here? And that's part of the music industry that is really, really complicated. COVID obviously threw a big wrench into, live events. And so a lot of people are still coming out of that, trying to figure out exactly what fits. So we've had lots of conversations. We're being as proactive as we can with all kinds of partners. We actually have contracts with operators who go out and find concerts on our behalf, and so we're working on this, and we would love to have Parker. We'd love to have another big-time act. Maybe they have A&M ties like Parker does. So the key is backstage passes for the broadcast crew, not the
That's
AD,
right.
the broadcast crew. So great question, Elliot, and I hope that we can land something here very, very soon.
Yeah. TP, I don't know if you told the T-Swift concert over there in NRG this weekend. Nobody made it down there, did they?
Yeah, I feel like everybody that I've ever met in my life was at NRG Stadium this weekend. So
I had family members down there, but I didn't get invited.
Yep.
Yeah, me neither.
Did not make it.
Me neither. Maybe next time.
Yeah.
We have partnerships with the city of College Station because obviously this would benefit them. The city of Bryan. I mean, they would be investors in helping, bring acts like this. I mean, so the pro forma on this involves a lot of different people. And obviously it's got to pencil out on all those different partners, and so it's complicated, but we want to make something happen, and I think we can do something here hopefully pretty soon.
All right. Andrew Leday is class of 98 from Garland, Texas, and here's the question. Our TAMU cheer squad just won their third NCAA national championship in 6 years. But they're not a recognized athletic program within our A&M sports department, asking why. And our dance team is it says why, but it then says it is a recognized athletic program. But why are they not a recognized athletic program? Cheer, they're saying, is a recognized FBS sport. What would be the pathway for this talented team to become a recognized and supported program by A&M Athletics?
Yeah, there's several layers to this. One, from what I understand, the cheer squad here at Texas A&M is part of club sports, which falls under recreational sports here, which is a student affairs organization. And so there's a lot of club teams that win national championships here at Texas A&M. I mean, I see our hockey teams do well. I think we have lacrosse teams that do well, cheer in this case. And so those are club sports, not intercollegiate athletic sports. So that's a difference from that perspective. But as far as spirit here at Texas A&M, the Yell Leaders are the keepers of the spirit, and they have been for over 100 years, and they're going to maintain that. As long as I'm the AD, I'm sure that'll remain, and that's tradition. That's part of what makes A&M special. So, as far as recognizing them, that's really a club sport activity. Obviously, the spirit of our athletic programs is the yell leaders, and then we have the dance team, and like she said, they are a part of our athletic program, and that's how it's going to be, moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And that's what she meant when I mixed that up. She meant the dance team is recognized in our athletics department. My apologies for fumbling that a little bit. But Nolan Moore has 2 submittals, and Nolan Moore is becoming pretty popular here. He's from Orange, Texas, near the Louisiana border, class of 22. Interesting question here because this has been a topic as of late.
People have been talking about this.
Yeah. So Nolan hit you with this. There's been the idea thrown out there by some to scrimmage an in-state program for your spring game to reduce players' risk of injury by 50% and enhance fan interest in watching and attending the spring game. Basically, you go against an opponent instead of yourself for the spring game. He goes on to say, I think it would be an excellent change to spring football games and make an Aggieland Saturday even more exciting and a memorable experience. This idea has this idea come up in any SEC meetings? If it hasn't, how could this idea become a reality? Last thing he says, if you like this idea, who would you like to see as a first in-state spring game opponent?
Yeah.
So there we go with our first lot to unpack
questions,
here.
Has this idea come up before? Yes, very loosely, not in a really a formal setting, but more of an idea conversation at SEC meetings. If it hasn't, how could this idea become these are good ideas, kind of in a soundbite, but when you start breaking down how it would actually work and be processed and be scheduled, it gets really complicated. Because again, we would obviously want to host the game.
Yep.
And what if we reached out to an opponent and they said, no, we host our spring game because we have Parents Weekend, we have a spring festival, we have a baseball series that we always attach our spring game to, whatever. So who will actually do this? Who will actually agree to it? Well, then it'll come down to money, right? And then so we already pay guarantee games for opponents like this already during the regular season. So how much would you be investing in a guarantee to bring a Sam Houston or Prairie View or somebody like that would be close by? So it's not as simple as saying, oh, yeah, we should play Sam Houston in the spring game. Well, Sam Houston has their own ideas. They have their own spring platform. They have their own agenda that they have to execute. So I don't think it would be as easy as it sounds when you actually get down to it. Maybe there's some opponents that would, do a scrimmage, perhaps, but then they still have their own spring game, right?
Or like the NFL training camp model.
That's exactly right. So I see ideas like that having more ground and more traction than, hey, we're going to play Sam Houston State at Kyle Field on April 15th, and then Sam Houston has nothing on their end. They don't want to do that. The ADs that I've talked to, they don't want to give up sort of what their platforms are on their campus. And so, and again, is that being disrespectful to Sam Houston to say, oh, yeah, of course you should play at Kyle Field? They may say, no, we have our own stage. We have our own platform. We have our own, charity. So it sounds good. Would it be neat to have? Would it save injuries? Because he mentioned, 50% of your players, you're playing against somebody else. Yeah, you can run all that analysis, but scheduling these things out, it's not going to be that easy.
It would start when teams have their allotted time too, Ross, to schedule their own spring practice, the amount of days they have when it starts. And then, that's not even talking about the operational.
Look how many spring games were this weekend. Look how many were on April 15th. Yep. Look how many were on April the 8th.
Yep.
Like, not everybody matches up their 15-day window with each other.
Teams cancel their games because of rain. They ran out of time in their practice window, so it's not as easy said and done.
Anyway,
and just the
Nolan,
simple.
Good question.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. It has been talked about. Again, it's a good soundbite, but when it comes down to actually making it happen, it's pretty complicated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Just in hearing coaches with so many different opinions or thoughts on it, and I know Coach Fisher mentioned I can run a game my way with my people. Well, what if it doesn't connect with what that opponent
wants
to do. And,
what if the week leading up to it you have 5 offensive linemen that get dinged up, and you're like, I'm not gonna play. Then you're not playing the game, and then you set it all up, and so there's just too many unpredictable components around spring practice and around your spring game that just don't make it as straightforward as what it sounds.
Yeah, interesting discussion that's been going on about that.
It's kind of like high schools do jamborees, right? I mean, my son plays high school football. They do these sort of could you do something like that? Maybe, but the other team is probably going to want to have their own spring game in their stadium with their fans. Yeah. So it's
they get that taken away.
Pretty difficult. Yep.
So. Wichita, Kansas comes in for the second Yellen review in a row. Chase Koch. Can we get an update on how much money has been raised for NIL through the 12th Man Plus Fund?
Really, honestly, it's too early to report. I know it's been launched a couple months. They're still working on some logistical things around exactly how to deploy student-athlete activity, and so it's really too early to tell around how much money has been raised in the 12th Man Plus Fund.
Now, there is other news coming out of the 12th Man Foundation this week as well, though.
I mean, really, when you think about it, so the Centennial Campaign was launched a year ago, really almost to the date. And in less than a year, the 12th Man Foundation, our donors, our staff, they were able to build out this campaign and reach the goal of $120 million in less than a year. And sell out all the suites as well. We had 21 suites that were added to Kyle Field, and those were all sold, and so that's additive to the campaign. So just amazing work by our donors. I mean, it's really humbling to be at a place where people care so much and they're willing to give of their resources, and then to have a staff, led by Travis Dabney and the 12th Man Foundation staff to be able to execute it in really a short amount of time is amazing. So it's the largest standalone campaign outside of Kyle Field in the history of our athletic program. So a lot of positive momentum around fundraising, ticket sales, 12th Man Foundation, all of our external activities. So really proud and appreciative of all the work that was put into this.
And all those projects are still ongoing, and because we see the steel put up today on the indoor football practice facility. It's moving quick.
It's moving fast. All to be ready by the opening weekend. So
Nolan Moore is back. Should have lumped him in with his earlier question, but he may have got a little confused. He asked, what topics are you excited to discuss at SEC Media Days? Perhaps he meant SEC meetings.
Meetings, I think
summer.
So, yeah, the end of May. That's right.
Media Days are coaches and players only participation. But what do you hope to achieve during this year's SEC meetings? We will say he kind of gives examples through NIL, recruiting, the portal, scheduling, spring game like we talked about, et cetera.
Yeah, all of it.
It's all on the table, right?
People always say, "Hey, what are you focused on?" All of it. I mean, it's all encompassing, and we need to be, at the top of it. So, NIL gets a lot of conversation, but it's really more about what should the collegiate model look like, right? Around supporting our student athletes. NIL is a part of that, but so is healthcare, so is mental health. So is long-term educational opportunities. So that all kind of wraps in the NIL, student-athlete, NCAA future. We'll have a little bit of conversation around the expanded playoffs, but we know it's 12. We know there's going to be on-campus games. I think it's more about what's the rest of the bowl system look like. How does the rest of the bowl system fit in?
The non-New Year's Six.
The non-New Year's Six games. What does that look like? So we'll have conversations around that. Obviously, SEC football scheduling will be a big topic, and that'll probably dominate the news cycle. Hey, we heard today in the hallway that, such and such brought up this idea around SEC scheduling. There's always sources and things like that roaming around there in Destin. So I'm looking forward to all of it. I love the SEC meetings because it really signifies that we truly have the best conference. We have the best leadership. We have the best camaraderie. Everybody sees it the same way that the SEC should set a standard. We have an SEC meeting on Zoom with new NCAA president Charlie Baker here in a couple weeks, and he's making the rounds. He's going to every conference Division III, Division II, Division I, because he wants to hear. He wants to hear what the practitioners have to say. And so just a lot of things happening around the industry of college sports. And so we'll talk about all of it and focus on SEC matters, but also focus on the big picture, like Nolan mentioned.
This is the final question of our early submittals. After that, we'll hit the lightning round. But first, let's get to Richard, class of 91 in Houston. What is the timeline for improvements to Olson Field at Bluebell Park? Where are we with the process?
Yeah, so we got approval from the Board of Regents to start planning, and you have to go through what's called a program of requirements process. It takes 3 to 6 months, so we're right in the middle of the program of requirements process right now. Hopefully we'll have that finished by maybe the end of June. If everything can go according to plan, I hope that we can start some aspects of the project maybe by next summer of 2024. It's going to go in stages. The way it has to be built, we obviously don't want to move out. We don't want to play somewhere else while we're doing construction, so it's going to be over a couple years anyway. And so if everything goes right, from the program of requirements to design to fundraising, all of those elements, maybe we can start something in the summer of 2024. And so that's what we're working towards. We're trying to be aggressive and go as fast as we can, because we know there's a need. There's a need for more seating. There's a need for player components, recruiting. Our hitting facility doesn't have air conditioning. Things like that. We know we have to address, and so we're trying to go as fast as we can.
All right. So, like we said earlier, 11th hour Ross sent out a tweet, told you Aggies out there that there's still time to get questions in.
Here we go.
And the Aggies responded in earnest. So, if we go lightning round here, TP, why don't we bounce back and forth here? I'll go first. You throw in the second question. Now, it's the Yell and Review. Yeah. You're allowed to spend as much time on these answers as you'd
there's
like.
No time.
But we're not under a time limit here, but we'll hit you with them rather quickly, because all of these came in within the past couple of hours for today's Yell and Review. First, Ryan McCoy, class of 22 from McKinney, Texas. What are your thoughts on the rumored changes to the field rushing sanctions that are being discussed around the SEC?
Lots of thoughts on it, lots of ideas. Been a part of, obviously, those conversations. Obviously, we've had, since I've been here, we had the Alabama game and we had the LSU game. So we've had two at Kyle Field. We almost had one around the Alabama basketball game on March the 4th, but I think everybody realized, hey, look, let's act like we've won some big games before. And I think cooler heads prevailed, if you will. Look, we want people to have fun. We want people to enjoy these moments, but there is a true safety issue when it comes to these incidents. I mean, if you see what happened at Tennessee, people get hurt. I was at Ole Miss, and I literally saw somebody jump, and their ankle literally snapped, right? I mean, that's no fun to see that. And so I think we have to get to a place where we talk about behavior, and we talk about educating, and we talk about protecting the visiting team, protecting the officials. Let's get them off, and really just change the mindset. And I think that's probably one program at a time. We have to do. We have to take care of Aggies, change that mindset. Sanctions and things like that. Those are what need to be discussed further. Because does somebody that is thinking about rushing the field, do they think about a fine or some other sanction while they're in that moment? They don't. They don't. They can't. It's emotional, right? They want to have fun. They want to release themselves. They're not thinking about, the impact on the university. So the sanction piece is what we really need to talk about as it relates to the behavior that hopefully we can educate and change and really change about. This is not the safest thing to do. How do we have fun? How do we celebrate? But how do we make it safe? So those are things that to be determined.
Right.
That'll be a spring meeting.
So
that'll be a spring meeting topic.
Heavy on the topic. Heavy on the plate.
That Nolan asked about. So thanks for the question, Ryan.
Our usual question, and Luke gets the opportunity to ask this time. Kyle Field lighting upgrades, light beams. We haven't had light beams yet.
No, I hadn't seen that one.
Or LED lights.
Nothing in the works right now. Still being looked at, still being reviewed from the context of, is that what A&M needs, should have? To me, this is an atmosphere enhancement component. Mm-hmm. Do we need to enhance our atmosphere? I would say we have the best atmosphere in college football. And so, no, nothing planned right now related to lighting upgrades or light beams or LED.
We do have brand new lights at Reed Arena that I can plug for you, and there will be even more enhancements soon next year. So come to a basketball game, Luke.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
so
right there.
We'll have some abilities to flash and strobe and things like that. And so, again, does that what A&M needs? Does that fit who we are? Though to me, that's more a part of it than, hey, let's just do it because everyone else is doing it. Let's do it because it's the right thing for Texas A&M.
Yeah, and then those questions were coming in so fast earlier, I didn't really think about. Patrick Hall, class of 25 from Cibolo, Texas, submitted a question that you essentially already answered. He was asking about the renderings and renovations.
So maybe by the fall,
Field.
maybe by this fall, we'll see some specific ideas around Olson Field.
All right, so I'll pick up with Dan, then you go next, TP. But Dan, class of 98, I think he had one earlier in there. No, that was Richard, class of 91 from Houston. This is Dan, class of 98 from Houston. Here's where the golf game comes into play. A very serious question here, Ross. If you had an 18-stroke lead over Sam Bennett at Augusta National to start the round, could you win the round?
Well, let's see. Is this 9 holes?
I think he's giving you 18 strokes.
9 would be hard for me.
If he's giving you 18 strokes, I think he's going to want you to play 18 holes.
I don't play enough golf to have an official handicap. But let's just say that I'm a bogey golfer.
So
I'll get some pars.
90. Yep.
I'll get probably a lot of doubles and probably average as a bogey, right? Maybe a birdie here and there. Mm-hmm. So that's 18, right?
18 over.
So that's 18
over.
Well,
you get the 18 strokes.
I get
so
the 18.
Par. 72.
Sam's probably, he's going to shoot, under par 5-6 strokes.
I think he fired back-to-back 68s, right?
So that's 4 under.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think I'd win. Not being a bogey golfer, and if he shoots 4 under, I think I lost.
He took advantage of those par 5s pretty well when he was there.
I think I lost.
Also, I'm not sure who would win because also keep in mind Augusta National here.
Yeah, the greens.
Now you might be a bogey golfer in some spots.
Right.
Not there
at Augusta National.
Ross will tell you that.
Now I'm not trying to put this on you, Ross. I'm saying me. I'm shooting well over 100 at Augusta National.
That place is deceiving because of the way CBS does it. It does not look very. It looks kind of flat on television.
No,
it is not that.
And the greens.
And the greens are treacherous.
Yes,
but they do have member tees. So I could play from the member tee.
That's a good point.
Sam plays from the professional tees.
The so-called tips is where Sam is playing from.
Maybe a few holes. I'd get a few holes on him.
Play from the drop on 12, maybe not have to hit over the water or maybe in corner.
That would be fun.
Yeah, it's
maybe.
Also, he didn't specify.
Someday.
Are you buying mulligans?
Right.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Maybe someday we'll have a chance to play Sam Bennett at Augusta.
There we go.
Wouldn't that be great?
That'd be a dream.
Or we could try it at the Open Championship this summer if he wants to take a group of us out there. So that's a good spot. Garrett Wright, class of 21 from Fort Worth, asked this: is there a timeline for the new football run-out song, and when or will we find out during our first game on September 2nd?
You're a part of that group, right? Yep. That's looking into that. So yeah, pretty much the first game. I mean, they're obviously we're going to get the players involved and get some of their input, and obviously the football program will ultimately sign off on it. And so yeah, pretty much the public when that first game happens, and we're looking at not only the entry of it, but what happens pregame. How does everything fit into the pageantry, the spirit of what we do here at Texas A&M? Obviously, the run out is sort of a culmination of all the pregame activities. So we want to do it the right way. We want to hit the right tone, if you will, across the board. So pretty much the first game is when people will find out.
It's about building anticipation, Garrett.
That's right. That's what
we're in the business for.
Kelly, who got her master's here in 2021, asks, is there an update on indoor tennis courts? And if so, where would they be located? Also, would that include current updates to the outdoor courts like training room, locker rooms, et cetera?
Yeah, there's been some news on this, but nothing official because everything is still in the works. But as far as indoor tennis courts, we are actually working with the city of Bryan on a location of indoor courts in the Midtown Park development. So we know there's a Big Shots there. They just opened Legends Event Center, which is basketball, volleyball. I think they're building some sand volleyball courts on the outside. They're redoing the lake there. They're going to have some retail, some food components. So we're actually working with the city of Bryan on finalizing the look, the cost, the timeline, where they would run the facility. We would have access to it when we need it. The thing about tennis is you always want to play outside. So we only need indoor courts when we need them, and that's inclement weather, maybe some pre-scheduled indoor tournaments. But otherwise, the building would pretty much sit empty if it's on our campus. So creating this partnership has been a couple years in the works, and the city of Bryan has been terrific in their support. And so hopefully that's finalized here pretty soon. So it'd be located off campus, but we'd have direct access to it, and it would be close by. And then as far as the outdoor courts, training room, yes, we have some ideas, looking at some costs, looking at some timing. We think there's some things that can be done as sort of part of our regular maintenance, but there's also maybe some longer-term things that may take a little more time and a little more funding. So tennis is on the list. We know there's some needs there with the outdoor courts. We just capped the outdoor courts themselves last summer of 22. So there have been some improvements, and we'll continue to make sure our facilities are top-notch. With our tennis programs, I mean, what women's tennis has done with back-to-back SEC championships, number 2 in the country. We'll be hosting the first and second rounds of the NCAA tournament, maybe the third round as well. And then the men obviously will make another NCAA tournament, and what Steve Denton has done, and that's a dynasty. So lots of success with our tennis programs.
Last one from Lisa from College Station, class 82. She asked, why does the SEC schedule have so many baseball and softball games that are at home on the same weekends? It sure makes it tough for fans to see both programs.
I wish there was like this scheduling portal matrix, somebody with some computer, science that could say, this is how you map all this out, right? So every program that plays baseball and softball could have a balanced schedule. And it's just not practical, right? We play 30 SEC baseball games, so 10 series, and you only play 8 series in softball. So you have 24 softball games, and you have 30 baseball games. So it just doesn't match up. Some years it might be better than others. Some years there might be back-to-back games. You're stacked up. You're playing at the same time. We do have a little bit of control over some of the game times if we are playing on campus at the same time. But then other times we don't, with television. So I wish there was an easy solution, Lisa. I get it because, look, I want to go to everything. I can't make it either. I have to choose, right? Do I go to softball? Oh, do I go to a tennis match over here? Do I leave basketball? March 4th was a great example, right? I mean, that weekend we had basketball, we had tennis. I mean, it was packed. So I'm with you, Lisa. I wish there was an easy solution. There's just not. So.
Yeah.
But we have the 12th man rewards that if you pop into softball for an inning or two,
get your
then
points.
you go over to baseball,
Double
you
points.
can click and get some points.
Yeah.
So
the good news is
Lisa.
Tricia Ford did a good job of starting at 5 o'clock. That was something she took an advantage of knowing the culture of A&M baseball.
Right.
Try to get people a chance at 5 o'clock to come see the softball. Maybe
And
watch
go
3
over
innings, go over to
yeah,
baseball.
Yeah,
so.
for a Tuesday night game or things like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Friday night games, we did that a little
half
bit.
of our
That's
games we can control the game time, so the other half we can't.
That's right.
But make note, Lisa, this is the weekend that's right for you because baseball's out of town. You can get to see softball.
All at 5
focus
o'clock,
on softball.
same
All games at 5 o'clock.
Exactly.
That's right.
Missouri this weekend.
It's a great point, Lisa. I wish there was an easier answer.
I had to check the phone before we closed out to make sure there was no other Ask
last
Ross submittal, but no
one
after
tweeted
that,
at us?
After that,
Yeah.
8 consecutive emails through the Ask Ross submission came through. None left. We've hit it all.
We've
done it all.
Yep.
All right. So
thank you, guys.
that was a busy one.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. That was fun.
Right.
A lot of good topics.
Good stuff. Thank you to the 12th man. And remember, if you have a question for Ross on a future Yellen review, you can submit it at the official website of Texas A&M Athletics, 12thman.com/Ask Ross. For Ross, for Tyler, I'm Will. So long from the south end zone of Kyle Field. Quickly, thanks to our producer, Matt Simon, our directors, Thomas Burns and Sarah Barrera, as well as Johnny Kerr. That closes us out. We will see you next month.